My candidate number is KQF353. The global issue I will be examining today is the impact of gender stereotypes on women's identity, which I shall illustrate with my literary extract from A Doll's House and my non-literary extract Cosmopolitan magazine covers. A Doll's House is a Norwegian play by Henry Ibsen, published in 1879 that challenged the gender norms of a patriarchal society, thereby making it controversial. The main character Nora starts off as a playful, naive woman whose only responsibility was to be a doll to her husband Homer. As the play progresses, Nora begins to gradually abandon these societal expectations until she eventually abandons her marriage to seek an identity for herself. Cosmopolitan magazine was founded in 1886 and was a monthly American family magazine that was later transformed into a women's magazine in 1965. I will be exploring the various devices used in these texts and how they impact women's identity in today's day and age. To begin, my global issue is portrayed in line 4, My Skylark, and line 6, My Squirrel, of my extract through Ibsen's use of zoomorphism. The use of zoomorphism by Helmer comparing Nora to a skylark illustrates Helmer's expectations of Nora to be entertaining and playful solely for him. This leaves Nora unable to truly express her identity as she's confined to the stereotypical role of a housewife. Squirrel refers to a small rodent that hides things, showing Nora squirreling her true identity away from Helmer. The use of animal nicknames evokes Nora's helplessness and dependence on Helmer, allowing him to assert dominance over Nora by dehumanizing her to a certain degree, further restricting Nora's ability to express herself. Following this, in the same line, Ibsen's use of the personal pronoun my shows the degree of possessiveness Helmer has over Nora, viewing her as his personal possession rather than a human being, further dehumanizing her. This restricts Nora's ability to express herself, and it reveals the objectification of women, which restricts women from being free to express themselves to be caged to the idea of being his. Finally, Ibsen uses irony and dialogue to reinforce the demanding greater gender stereotypes that were prevalent at the time in line 33 of my chosen extract in the phrase, Nora, Nora, how like a woman, no debts, never borrow. The phrase, how like a woman, shows Helmer's misogynistic view that women are unable to understand the workings of a patriarchal society. This is ironic as Nora herself has dealt with loans, despite Helmer's views on loans. Helmer is dismissive of Nora's intelligence solely because she is a woman. This shows the power disparity between the two gender roles. No debts, never borrow. Shows the use of imperatives, which further shows the power disparity between the two roles. This misogynistic view of women not being able to understand the workings of society restricts Nora to the traditional roles of being a housewife, hindering her from being able to truly express herself. Moving on to my literary body of work, Ibsen uses symbolism to show the impact of gender roles on women's identity in A Doll's House, as can be seen in Act 3. He called me his little doll and played with me just the way I play with my dolls. The symbolism of little doll shows the objectification of women in a society where women are expected to fit into the stereotypical predefined roles, being treated as an extension of the men in their lives rather than themselves. Little implies that Nora felt inferior to these men, and the use of the word doll implied that she felt like she was easily controlled and manipulated, showing how the gender stereotypes impact women's identity. Following this, Ibsen uses stage direction and dialogue to show the impact of gender stereotypes on women's identity. In Act 1, Nora and Christine discuss the events that have taken place in their lives. When Nora discovers that Christine has no husband, no children, and no feeling of loss or sorrow, she finds it unbelievably difficult to comprehend, as can be seen in the stage direction looks incredulously at her, as well as the repetitiveness of questions asked regarding stereotypical roles of women in the patriarchal society that even Nora had internalized this traditional mindset early on in the play. The stereotype that women need to have a husband and children to be fulfilled. This confines women's identities to more than just their stereotypical roles as mothers and wives. I will now be moving on to my non-literary extract, a magazine covered by the Cosmopolitan magazines, which have the power to convey information and impact society. Firstly, the magazine uses Goffman's theory of the feminine touch, where a model can be seen lightly touching her bra strap and thigh, portraying her as vulnerable, submissive, and seductive, implying that women are subordinate to men. Now, this encourages negative perceptions of women, which is ironic because the magazine is geared at women and raises expectations for women to conform to these stereotypes, affecting the sense of self-worth and thus their identity. Secondly, the magazine also makes use of color and heading to highlight certain topics to intrigue women to read the magazine. The use of color grabs the reader's attention in the words colored red, so hot, and seductive beauty suggests that women have to be romantic and seductive in order to conform to the society's expectations of the beauty standard, which further restricts women's freedom to express themselves. The use of the hitting, "What are we even fighting about?" shows the gender stereotype that women are overly dramatic and erratic, further limiting their expression of their identity in fear of being associated with such stereotypes. Hence, the use of color and hitting can portray women in a negative light, perpetuating stereotypes that hinder women from freely expressing their identity. The magazine uses lighting and photographs, which highlights the model's cleavage, leading to an unrealistic expectations of women and impacting the view of themselves by affecting the self-esteem, as well as the increased pressure on the audience to attain such standards, which leads to a loss of identity. The lighting highlighting the model's breast can lead to the objectification of women and put value on physical attributes, affecting the society's perception of women, reinforcing superficial judgments. I will now be moving on to my non-literary body of work. The cover makes use of the color pink, often associated with femininity, to appeal to the female audience. The caption "perfect skin, gorgeous hair," coupled with the caption "zero effort," adds to the negative stereotype that women are unwilling to put effort in, as well as the societal expectation that women are expected to have such features, thereby enforcing negative stereotypes and impacts on women, and expectations on women. The light touching of the heel relates to Goffman's theory of the feminine touch, linking back to my non-lit abstract. This impacts the way society views women, affecting the way women express themselves. And my second non-literary body of work, Cosmopolitan uses color and caption to attract the female audience while enforcing negative female stereotypes. The publication uses feminine colors such as pink and purple to attract readers. The caption "simple ways to make him worship you" implies that there is a stereotypical need for male validation and that the misogynistic mindset that women are dependent on men. The caption "decode her Snapchats" implies that women are manipulative and deceitful and reinforces harmful stereotypes that women are untrustworthy. Now, this impacts the magazine's female audience as they may internalize these stereotypes, limiting the expression of identity in fear of conforming to that stereotype. The emphasis that women are dependent on men implies that women are incapable of being independent and able to have their own independence, thus limiting their identity. In conclusion, both my literary abstract, A Doll's House, and my non-literary abstracts from Cosmopolitan magazine show the impact of gender roles through a myriad of devices and how they limit women from being able to express themselves. It perpetuates inequalities and discrimination against women in society, leading to unequal opportunities in education, employment, and other aspects of life, and limits women's potential as they are confined to these gender stereotypes. Women may also internalize these stereotypes and judge themselves based on society's expectations, impacting self-concept and self-worth. Now, addressing these stereotypes promotes a more inclusive future and fosters a more diverse culture for all genders, therefore showing the importance of my global issue. Thank you.